Turkey and pigskin go hand in hand, so I'm so glad to be joined by Sal Capaccio to break down this Bills-Detroit matchup that we're all looking forward to on Thanksgiving. But I got to start by asking you whether or not you're snowed in. How you doing? It's been a very tumultuous couple of days for this Buffalo team.
Yeah, it has been. I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Good to be with you. I felt a little guilty actually by the fact that I didn't have nearly as much snow. It's so weird. Lake effect snow is so wild. Like there's like this line of demarcation. If you go like south of downtown, right around downtown, then south, you're just buried. You're under snow. You can't get out. As you've seen the pictures, it's crazy. 77 inches in Orchard Park, where the team facility is. Obviously, then if you go north of the city, where I live, in the west on the west side actually, but on that side of it, there's really wasn't much. We got maybe a foot and a half total. It was just amazing, and it really depends on where you are. And that was literally maybe 10. I'm 10 miles from Orchard Park, which is wild.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. That lake effect comes in so fast as well. I was watching that Notre Dame game. I used to work in South Bend. I remember, just like these epic snowstorms and them coming in. But I haven't spent a ton of time in Buffalo, and the images that were coming out of the weekend were unreal. And I loved the stories of all the neighbors helping to get the players out of their houses, out of their garages to the airport, to Detroit. But in all seriousness, I imagine that was very taxing for the team. I mean, what kind of effort did it actually take to get them out of Buffalo and to get them on a football field?
Very coordinated effort. Let's just say that. I think one of the advantages of having Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott at the top of this organization is they're very, very good at these sorts of situations, kind of crisis management, because they're always prepared for everything. It's really kind of something Sean has always been on top of. I've always said he's one of the most organized, consistent coaches I've ever been around. Like, he thinks of everything. He's ready for anything, ready to pivot. And their messaging is always positive. Like, they're really good at what I'll say, taking obstacles and creating opportunities. And I think that that's what they did here, which is, hey, we're going to figure it out. We're going to get you guys there. We're going to have meetings via Zoom. He said that was a team bonding thing. They were able to meet over Zoom. But then when it came to actually putting it in action, it was wild, where they literally had to get in touch with every single staff member and player and say, what is your situation? Where are you? What do you need? We're going to come get you if we have to, or can you go here? We had people on our radio crew, literally a guy who walked from his house, finally got out, walked to the local 7-Eleven because that's the only place that the car could come pick him up, and then take him to the facility to get on the bus. The team met at the facility at about noon on Saturday, got a practice in at the facility, and then took buses to the airport with a police escort to get to the airport on Saturday, and then got on the airplane. Like I said, me and a few other people were already there because I could just get to the airport easily from where I was. But it was wild. And then, we flew into Detroit. And then one of the things I'll tell you is a lot of people ask, why aren't they just staying in Detroit? They got to play Thursday anyway. Why don't you stay there? Well, there's no reason to now. They can come back. They can get back in their homes. Things are getting cleared a little bit. They can get to their training facility, their medical facility. They can have practice. If they would have stayed in Detroit, they'd be much more chaotic. Where are you going to practice? How are you going to get everybody there? What about meals? What about, your own beds and families? It just didn't make any sense to stay in Detroit.
Yeah, that was a question I kind of had initially. It was just like, why on earth wouldn't they stay there? But logistically, it's probably way more of a hassle to keep everybody there. And, you're talking about a short week now after essentially a very difficult weekend. For the players who didn't grow up in Buffalo, or maybe they're from down south or something like this. I mean, you mentioned how going through something like this together can galvanize a group. I mean, do you get a sense that there was a little bit of that? It's one of those things where you tell this story for years to come.
Yeah, Buffalo, our nickname is the city of good neighbors. And I think it really shows up in times like this. We are good neighbors. We help each other. This is what we do. Going back to when I was a kid, I did grow up here. And then I lived in Florida, ironically, for 16 years. I didn't have to deal with any of this, but I had to go through a couple of hurricanes, which was in its own right pretty crazy. And, that's what people in Buffalo do. We help each other. You push each other out of the snow. You tow each other out of the snow. You have fun with it. And that's what people did for the players and the staff members. And to a man, players were like, man, I can't make my neighbor. They were so good. They blew the snow for us. They helped me get my car out and truck out and things like that. And the bonding part of it is real, right? Which is, sure, if it goes the other way and you lose, you're not having as fun with it, talking about it. But in the locker room after the game, there was lots of smiles, lots of jokes, lots of laughs about things that people had to go through. And, the appreciation I think the players have for the people in Buffalo that they're around. And Von Miller spoke really eloquently about it and said like he was just blown away by all of it. And he's so thankful to be in a city like that. Look, Roger Saffold had a really good perspective. He said it's not the first time. Remember, he got moved. He was at the Rams when the fires were happening and a game was moved, right? And he said, this isn't the first time. He said, whether it's been hurricanes, fires, snowstorm, I've had to do this, right? And, you always you have to do your best with it and take what's dealt to you. And I think Sean, his messaging was great, where he said, They did Zoom calls. They had people changing their screens and have fun with it. I had two different people in the organization tell me, this is wild, say, because, we live in this virtual society now. He said, I actually had to have communication with people in other departments I haven't talked to in years. It was cool to catch up. The ticketing department to the travel department and the operations staff. And I think everybody kind of took that as a really kind of positive out of this whole thing.
You guys are the city of good neighbors. You're also the city of football fans, because I was reading, more than 50,000 tickets get sold to this game in Detroit, and majority of them, I think, were Buffalo fans. Does that surprise you at all that, that everybody just kind of showed up to support the team?
Oh, it did not surprise me at all. Bills fans travel great. They're a great traveling fan base. We're the second smallest market in the league behind Green Bay, I think, but it doesn't matter. No matter where you are, there's Bills fans. Bills backers bars everywhere. I did a map one time. They have a map on the Buffalo Bills website. I went and I looked. There are Bills backers bars in every part of the country. It's crazy because there's a lot of displaced Buffalonians. People leave Western New York to go to warmer weather, right? We know that that's happened, but they live everywhere. And I knew once this happened, you'd be getting Bills fans from all over the country who could make it to see their team. I spoke with people. There was people who drove from down near the Pennsylvania border, Jamestown, New York, that didn't get hit by the snow as much. You had people who came in from a friend of mine. Her and her son came in from Chicago. She had told me she had not been to a game since the 90s in Buffalo. This is her chance to go and see the Bills and take a drive. We saw people from Atlanta. Look, Canada, lots of Bills fans in Canada. They were able to go to the game actually and drive through Canada. Did not surprise me. 56,000 tickets sold. Unfortunately, lots of people got their hands on them and resold them in the secondary markets. They were cheap. The Bills did a great job of getting them out. And then Browns fans bought them too. But I will say lots more Bills fans than Browns fans. But, I would say it was nice that even some Browns fans who might not be able to go to Cleveland to a game were able to go see their team. But Bills fans far outnumbered them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it's so expensive to take your kids to a game these days anyway, that if you can get a cheap ticket to the NFL, God bless you. But you bring up such an interesting point. It is a small community, and yet the franchise is so iconic, and the weather has so much to do with it. It is one of those franchises that exactly what the fan base is like. What's expected every season. It's a good point that you bring up. I do want to talk about Josh Allen specifically and some of the struggles that he's been going through, whether or not you think that this inconsistency in the middle of the season is something that we've just kind of grown accustomed to. But, just last kind of point to button it up on the weather. You've now got a short week. You've got a huge Thanksgiving Day game. Is this something that could potentially be a trap game? In theory, this could kind of be a get-right game against Detroit, but is Buffalo still kind of putting all the pieces back together from such a difficult week?
Well, I think now is how you can calm down. You went through it. You had it all happen. Now it's a regular week. Now it's a regular Sunday to Thursday, and that's no different. This team's had Thursday games before now. The last few years, we've seen them on national TV a lot. And I think now you just treat it like a Sunday to Thursday game. There's been a plan in place. So we're sitting here on a Monday. We'll hear from Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier and Ken Dorsey via Zoom like we normally do on a Monday. And then they get back at practice on Tuesday. Tuesday becomes like a normal Wednesday. They'll practice 12:30, and then Wednesday becomes travel day. They'll do a little walkthrough before that. So I think they are putting some pieces together personally, but I think a lot of it was the angst of everything happening kind of has calmed those waters, and now you've gotten through it. You know what? I don't know about a trap game. I think that this team knows right now they're up against. They lost 2 in a row, and they got right back on the right track. They need to keep winning here. But I would say playing in Detroit might help them here, right? They just went through playing in this stadium. Tyler Bass had 6 field goals, tied the franchise record both he and Steve Christie had. And I asked him after the game, I said, kicking 6 field goals in this stadium today, when you come back 4 days later, how does that help you? He said, oh my God, it's great. Like, he just visualized, he did it in that stadium, and he just comes right back to there. I want to tell you too, one of the things the Bills did, because they were really thinking ahead on this, the Bills didn't take the home side or the home locker room in Detroit, even though they're the home team. They took the visitor side, took the visitor sideline, the visitor locker room. So everything is the same when they get back there. We're going to be in the same hotel when you get back there on Thursday. So they're trying to keep everything as normal and routine to just go right back to Detroit and kind of pick up where they left off.
Yeah, you bring up a great point about the consistency. I'm sure that that's an added benefit. Special teams, anytime you can get a kicker with some reps, get them comfortable, that's wonderful. The quarterback, though, has to make better decisions, especially in critical situations in the red zone. And over the last couple of games, we've seen Josh Allen throw a ton of interceptions and just look a little off. What is ultimately plaguing him, in your opinion?
Josh is at times trying to win the Super Bowl on one play in week 9 or week 10. And he can't do that. And I think that's who Josh is, though. you got to take care of the ball better, and you got to make better decisions. There's no doubt. But you also don't want to take away Josh Allen. What makes Josh special is that trait, is the fact that he believes so much in himself and he can do everything and make every throw, and he can, and he wants to all the time. He's super hyper competitive. But I think at times when things start to tighten up a little bit, he feels, I got to do it. He puts it so much on himself. Not that he doesn't trust people around him, but he just figures, I got to do something here to help my team. I want to win. And he tries a little too hard to do something, and then that's when the mistake happens. And we saw that happen early in his career. We haven't really seen it much over the last couple of years. Now it showed up again for a couple of games. Didn't do it, though, against Detroit, which is really good. He made really good decisions, but he was really off early in the game. And now the first 28 minutes before the 2-minute warning, Josh was only 4 of 10 for 27 yards passing, which was wild. And I will tell you, from the sideline report, I'm the sideline reporter on the games. I'm down on the field. He was off. He was just missing people, overthrowing it. Now, I do think part of that is the elbow. He's still dealing with the elbow injury from a few weeks ago. He is limited at practice. He's not throwing as much. But I also think the offense overall, just not having that practice, those reps they had throughout the week, probably threw some timing off. Then he got the ball back with 2 minutes left in the first half. And from that point on, 14 of 17, 170, a touchdown. He looked like Josh Allen again, right? I mean, so he's got to make better decisions. He's got to take care of the ball better. But if you try to make Josh Allen into a game manager, so to speak, then you're losing Josh Allen. You got to let Josh be Josh. And what makes him special is the ability to make those plays. He's just tried a little too much to press, I think, on them a little bit lately.
In theory, this has the potential to be something of a high-scoring affair. I mean, the Lions' defense looks fairly porous. Is this a trust issue between receivers and running backs? I mean, from a coaching standpoint, if you've got a guy who's a gamer, who needs to, as you say, be himself, but is having trouble kind of meeting the moment and making good decisions and good passes in key situations, how do you solve for that?
I think there's, the saying, shooters shoot. I think you got to let shooters shoot. Yeah, but, meeting the moment in big situations, he's done that, though, throughout his career. It's just been the last couple of weeks where it hasn't gone right. And look, if you take every interception individually, you could kind of, I wouldn't say explain it away, but there are reasons. Like, there was one at the Jets where he literally just did not see the defender over a defensive end who was coming. He just kind of floated the ball to Dawson Knox. He didn't see the guy. Nothing he could do. Then he made a horrible decision, a mistake, and just threw it right to Sauce Gardner. And just, I don't know if it was communication. He said it was just on him. He just made a bad play. And then the two against the Minnesota Vikings. Look, it's 4th and 2, but instead of getting 2 yards, they go for a touchdown. It's a 7-yard line. Josh is scrambling around. He knows, okay, there's nothing. I got to throw the ball here. It's 4th down. So he threw the ball in the end zone and got picked. And then I think the one he wants back is the pick that ended the game against Minnesota, where he just tried to fit it into a tight window. He should have done that. He should have lived to fight another day. But look, I mean, Josh Allen has certainly met the moment in critical situations most of his career so far. Look at what happened to Kansas City last year in the playoffs, right? I mean, we know that he can do that. I think in these situations just hasn't come to fruition as much as they would have wanted to over the last couple of weeks. But he got back on track, I think, through the second half of last week for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was talking to a couple of Bills fans around here, just in the New York City area where I live, because you guys are everywhere and you're such loyal fans, and they were saying like, "Oh yeah, this happens." It didn't seem like anybody was pushing the panic button yet. That it had been a couple of games, it was a little bit of a skid, but that he was going to eventually find his way. I wonder, with where we are right now in the season, how critical do you view this particular game on Thanksgiving in terms of turning things around and finishing the regular season the way that they ultimately started it?
And also, let's remember, before those 2 games, Josh Allen was the favorite to win MVP. He was playing great. Yeah. He's had a great season. He's just had a couple games and down games. So I don't think there's any panic or worry. I think more of it might be even the injury and just making sure that he can get back to look, the last couple of weeks, his longest pass was 28 yards this week. I think 25 last week. So they're not throwing the ball down the field as much, too, and they need to get that part of their offense going. And that's a big part of it. It's really wild. I'll give you a great stat. This is amazing. There's this like weird mid-season lull the Bills have had under Sean McDermott. They've been such a great team under him. In weeks 9 and 10, just in weeks 9 and 10 under Sean McDermott since 2017, the Bills are 4-8. 4-8 in weeks 9 and 10. For every other week, they're like 52 and 27. It's amazing. I don't know what happens in weeks 9 and 10. And so I think that as the games go on, as you get closer and into Thanksgiving, the Bills have proven, and Sean McDermott's shown his process, they start ramping it up again. They start getting back to the kind of football they want to play, and it's real kind of critical to play in those situations. So I don't think anybody's worried about that, but certainly there's been some signs lately that, look, if they keep doing that, they do that against a Lions team that's playing really well, they're not going to win that game. If they allow the Lions to, have the success throwing the ball that Jacoby Brissett even had, and those receivers and those 50-50 balls, it's going to be a tough day for the Bills. And we know what Williams is doing on the ground. Like, those are those are the things they need to clean up. And look, there's going to be opportunity for the Bills offense against the Lions defense. The Bills have to make those opportunities. They have to connect on them. You can't give the ball away. When the Bills don't give the ball away, they score. They scored on 7 straight possessions against the maybe 6 against the Browns. And by the way, they don't punt. I mean, when they don't turn the ball over, the Bills actually, I think, did they even punt the other day? They might have punted once against. I think they have 19 punts on the year. 19. To qualify for league leaders, you got to have like 25. That Sam Martin can't even qualify. They don't have enough.
That's 2 more than the Patriots and Jets had on Sunday alone.
I think that the lesson here is the Bills still have a great offense. They just have to take care of the ball better. And that goes back to, I mean, if they don't do that against the Lions, likely they'll lose. But if they do, they'll be tough to stop.
Just quickly, last point. Have we underestimated the severity of his injury? Because, he picked up that injury and everyone was, oh no. And then because he played the following week, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was back out there the following week. Yep. I feel like maybe and when I say we, I mean kind of like the general public, not those who are on the sidelines and within the organization like you following it so closely, but maybe we all kind of thought like, oh, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, did we underestimate kind of the severity of what he's dealing with? Is he going to continue to be dealing with this?
Maybe. I think it's funny. I think there was a very big overreaction the first week. Now there may be a little bit of an underreaction, right? Whereas, okay, the overreaction was, oh my God, Tommy John surgery, he's going to be out. He's going to miss several weeks. So the season's in jeopardy. And then here he comes, he's back on the field the following week. But he hasn't thrown a football in the media open practice sessions that we've been to. He is limited on the injury report. He does not come out for early pregame warmups to throw a football. We asked him about that. He said he's just trying to throw not many passes. He doesn't have to throw as many passes. He's trying to just, maintain it. That's the plan with the medical staff. But now we're 15 days away out from the injury. I think that injury, if it's a sprain or strain, people say usually 4 weeks or so till you kind of get back to where you need to be. So it's been a few weeks. So maybe we're not estimating enough what it really has done to him the last couple of weeks. But if you go back and watch the last 2 minutes of the first half and then the second half, he made every throw still. He can do that. So, it's just about, Josh kind of making sure and the offensive staff making sure and don't put as much on him. If the Bills can run the ball like they did against the Browns, that would really help Josh Allen a lot. So, he's still dealing with the injury. So overestimation, underestimation, I guess that depends on what people really thought about it in the first place.
When can we expect to see Tre'Davious White back on the field? I mean, I'm sure they could use an all-pro corner as well, especially on a short week like this.
Your guess is as good as mine. We don't know. It's a big mystery. I've never seen a situation like this, which is you have a very, very good player, a former all-pro, who is medically cleared, practicing every single day. He is not on the injury report. He is ready. He is practicing every day, and they make him a healthy scratch. And the only messaging coming out of the organization from Sean McDermott is he's not ready to play. And nobody really knows what that means. There's questions about, is it a mental hurdle he needs to get over? Is he afraid to go on the field? Is he worried about something happening again? Now, look, Tre'Davious was teammates with Odell at LSU for a year. They're good friends. Odell came back and he got re-injured again when he came back later. And there's been people who speculate, maybe he's talking with Odell. Odell's saying, don't come back till you're ready. Don't come back till you're ready. When is that, though? Is Tre'Davious waiting for Thanksgiving and saying, I want a year. I want 1 year. He tore it on Thanksgiving last year, remember. Does he want to come back that 1 year as a way? Does he want to wait till after that? Is it on I get the feeling it's more on Tre'Davious. The way Sean McDermott talks, he doesn't say the medical staff doesn't feel he's ready. He doesn't say we're still ramping him up. He says he's not ready. He'll play when he's ready. And that, to me, sounds like a coach that's kind of protecting his player from people and the noise about it, because it's very strange. We don't know what's going on. That's interesting that you kind of bring this up. I was talking with a former running back the other day, and he was telling me, like, every Monday after I would play on Sunday, I felt like I got hit by a car, illustrative of how physical, how fast, how difficult the game is. And so you would want to give somebody a little bit of room or space to get over that mental hurdle in their own time if they are, in fact, scared or nervous or anxious about having another tear that is as critical and as impactful as the one that he had. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't want to speculate about why he's not back out on the field. It could be a number of different reasons, but you get the sense that the coaching staff is going to let him ultimately dictate the timeline and not rush him back before he is ready to play. I do get that sense because I don't think they want to do that to Tre'Davious. I don't think Sean McDermott always talks about, in the organization, Brandon Beane, when you play as a Buffalo Bill, we're going to give you, and you're going to become the best version of yourself. That's what they always talk about. Like, you come here, you'll be the best version of yourself. And with the medical training facility they have here, the Bills are one of the lowest injury rates in the league over the last few years. They are a little higher this year, but it's true. Like, everything they do from a mental health standpoint to a physical standpoint, rehab, I think they allow people to do that. So my assumption here is, this is me just guessing, I think maybe if they feel they do pressure him and they do rush him, he won't be the best version of himself because he won't be mentally. And I think that's important to them. They want the best version of Tre'Davious White they can get. But I will tell you, McDermott did say in a press conference a week ago, maybe, he said, yeah, he went through the whole thing when he's ready. And then he said, but at some time it's time to go. And I just think that's an indication that he's, hey, we need you out there, buddy.
Yeah, we need you.
But he's not going to do that. He's not going to put the onus on the player publicly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it is a business at the end of the day, right? And so you need to win these games, and I'm sure he feels a tremendous amount of pressure. But that's really kind of interesting insight. Before I let you go, can I get any kind of prediction for Thanksgiving? What are you thinking? You think Buffalo gets it done?
Higher scoring game. I think the Bills lately, last two games are 23 to Cleveland, 33 to Minnesota. Granted, that game was wacky. And the way the Detroit Lions are playing football right now, I think, short preparation for both these defenses, you'll probably see the teams, be able to move the ball and score some points. I'm not going to go against the Bills, who have Josh Allen and the number 2 scoring offense in the entire league, going against the 32nd ranked, the last ranked, defense when it comes to yards. I think the Bills will move the ball. As long as the Bills protect the ball, I think it's a higher scoring game. I think the Bills will win. I think the Bills will get over 30 points. The Lions will probably get somewhere in the low 20s or something like that. But I certainly wouldn't be shocked to see the Lions win. I mean, we all love Dan Campbell and what he's done, and the locker room speeches and Hard Knocks and all that kind of stuff. It's great watching him from afar. I'm kind of an old school football guy. I used to be a high school football coach in Florida, so I'm rah, let's go. I'm that guy, so I appreciate all of that. And, I think that'll be fun to watch. And I think the Bills will come away with a win because I think they're just too talented not to here.
You have set the table for us. Now we're going to put some turkey on it. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Sal. Appreciate it. Safe travels. And my hope for you is that you do not have to take the shovel out of the garage for at least another couple
Hey, we're expecting 40s this week. It's going to melt a lot of that snow, okay? Be over.
I appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving.
The Ford Field spread is going to be for the media and sideline reporters because they got a lot to live up to. Dallas was amazing a few years ago when we went there. I'll tell you that.
No, get out of here. What'd they have? Full turkey?
The full-fledged turkey dinner with all the fixings. And they had incredible desserts and candy everywhere. Now that might be normal, I don't know, but it was amazing in 2019. I'm like, wow, they did it right. You got a lot of these places they don't do it right, but I'm imagining Ford Field in Detroit they do because they are used to doing Thanksgiving, right? So I'm putting the pressure on them to make sure they feed us well.
All right. So are you going to tweet a photo of that? Where can people find you? Okay.
At Sal Sports on Twitter. At Sal.
I will be paying attention for sure.
Thanksgiving media meal judge on Twitter. Everybody know, okay?
Sounds like a spin-off program for sure. Sal, thank you. Safe travels. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks for having me.